Honourable Member, Srimati Supriya Sule ji.
Thank you, ma'am. I stand here on behalf of the Nationalist Congress Party SP to speak on the coastal shipping bill. So as mentioned by my earlier colleagues, that India has had a history of maritime trade and a strong naval fleet for generations. Be it Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, be it the Chola dynasty, be it the Pandyan dynasty. These are several dynasties which initially, whenever history is written about the maritime boards and the trade, these are huge contributions which actually made our global trade much closer and effective. While this happened in India's history, then came modern India under the leadership of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. And then Maharashtra has a long coastal route, as you say, which is connected to other states in the south. And in our long coastal line that we have, we in Maharashtra had the JNPT, which is one of the finest ports in India. We have Port Trust, which is a very old but a very effective port in Maharashtra, in Mumbai. And we have the new Vadhavan port, which is coming in Maharashtra, which we discussed just last week. I appreciate the efforts of the Honourable Minister, but I have noticed that every week he comes up with one bill. I request him that if he brings a large consolidated bill of making effective changes in his ministry, it will make a larger impact on this maritime trade that this government is trying to bring in. I would like to make a few suggestions to the Honourable Minister and ask him a few questions for clarification of the industry as well. That there was a 1838 and a 1958 Vessels Act, which talked about regulation, safety, security, pollution, prevention. Now, while he is covering all these points and consolidating several of these issues every week in his mantralaya, in his department, I request him that he should even make sure that every fisherman, because we just debated a lot of fishery, dairy, allied businesses and agriculture today. So the fishermen have to be protected and looked after every time we do any kind of this endeavor. My colleague sitting here from the DMK, I know how much they suffer every time. When some fisherman by default goes across the border, he has no clue, there are really no borders there. And how they are caught, punished. So I think while we have policies for port and maritime trade, we must be very, very sensitive to the fishermen of this country, which are very critical part of an economy of this country as well. They do participate in the growth of this country. Just because they don't have a loud voice, that doesn't mean, or they don't create crores of infrastructure, that doesn't mean they don't deserve a voice in this house that we are standing on. I would like to ask them a few questions which we need to seek clarification, ma'am. Streamlining of licensing in these procedures. I appreciate the efforts of the government to bringing the foreign and the Indian vessels together on the same thing. But while you are bringing this great introduction by using technology, I would like to ask that will there be a license which will be approvals or rejections in a timeline manner? So if you're using so much technology, it has to be very effective and it has to be time bound. Only then this industry would really grow. Nobody wants harassment. The second thing is they've used the word services. Now in services, after GST has come, there are various services. The income tax bill which we have in the all of us, several of us are in a committee, there is a word service. GST has a word service. Every industry has the word service. Now this also they have brought in a service. So while there is taxation and services, the definition of the word services must be totally uniform in all these cases is something that the government must clarify. And if they haven't done it, I urge them to bring it under one meaning in every bill and make sure it is the same everywhere so there is no confusion in any industry. Next thing is modernization and digital integration. Now they have talked about making a database. With so much technology, it is so easy. But this real data name, it has to be analytical driven and make sure that policy making and investments in this industry have to be tracked. Because most young people who are looking for jobs are always confused. They don't know where to apply. Even if they apply, the skilling is not good enough. There's always upgrading of skills required with so much change in technology. So be it policy or employment, what is the specific intervention this government is doing, they must clarify. While just last week, my colleague and friend Kanimoli ji talked about extensively during question hour about environmental safeguard. She herself comes from a constituency which has a very big port, which was mentioned by my colleague earlier. Now, the whole thing is decarbonization efforts for making sure there is no or less pollution. I won't say no pollution because that's not possible. It's too idealistic to expect that. But can we not work towards making it a zero pollution business and making sure that the fuels in this entire shipping industry are clean? India has a huge ammonia efforts that we have. We have a lot of ammonia. Is it possible to integrate it, which is an international demand? From January, I'd like to just quote this. From January 1st, 23, all ships must comply to an International Maritime Organization's Energy Efficiency Existing Shipping Index and a carbon intensity indicator. I think this is very, very critical. And also, Kanimoli ji also talked about it in the question hour. So I think we need, while you're making these policies, environment has to be at the center of any growth of any great infrastructure project in this country. Conflict resolution, Professor Roy talked about it. I will not repeat it, but I'd like to make a small point. What he has suggested, I'd like to reiterate that the Director General is going to be made in charge of all this policy. Will it be too much consolidation of power in one place? So I'd like to reiterate what Professor Roy has said, that please rethink it. It's not that we don't mistrust anybody, but to consolidate energy in one place may not be the idealistic situation in any business for that matter. The other small point is that ease of doing business. This government constantly talks about ease of doing business. So they have used the word penalties, restrictions. These are not words anybody likes in a growing economy anywhere in the world. So I urge them, like we have made in other laws, that you either give them a first warning, second warning and third warning, or even a case which my colleague Krishna, I may not have agreed with his entire speech, but I do value the intervention that he made, that if there is an industry which is suffering and if somebody has a penalty and for 9 months somebody who has really not done anything wrong has to suffer, the business suffers, and not only the business, but the owner suffers, thousands of stakeholders of that company suffer who are very poor and hardworking and honest citizens of this state. So while you are talking about penalties and ease of doing business, I think this government must focus. Don't put fear in. Even in taxation, I spoke in my finance bill, don't put fear in the industry. Investors are honest. Indians by nature are honest. So don't threaten them or bring fear, be it income tax, be it in GST. We don't want tax terrorism or any policy to scare investors. If you are making policies, make them people friendly. Show people that you have faith in them, and Indians will deliver superior results and make sure it's India's growing economy which they want from the fifth to the third to the first. We are very happy if they reach by 47, 57 or whichever year they want to go into. But these are all idealistic things on paper. I think they need to walk the talk for making sure that they are good in ease of doing business. And the last small point for good investors in India operation and shipbuilding, there are 3 very serious interventions this government needs to make. Is make sure that's a good and easy tax policy, make sure there's good access to credit and easy access to credit, and the infrastructure support that governments need to go and encourage maritime trade. I again take this opportunity. I appreciate all the good work done by the very honorable minister, but if he consolidates it, I think he'll be far more effective. He is effective, but he'll be far more effective if he consolidates all his bills together. Thank you.